Baby found a pregnant mother bear under a collapsing cave. What happened next was shocking. Let us know where you're watching from. If you love my content, consider supporting it with a super thanks. Every bit of your support helps us create even more amazing stories for you. The morning sun crept through the curtains of the small cabin nestled at the edge of Whispering Pine Forest. Inside, little Lily Morgan, barely 1 year old, sat on the wooden floor surrounded by her colorful toys. Her mother, Savannah Reed, hummed softly as she prepared breakfast in the kitchen, unaware that this ordinary morning would soon transform into something extraordinary. Lily's curious blue eyes wandered to the open window where a gentle breeze carried unfamiliar sounds, low, pained growls that seemed to call out for help. Outside, the ancient forest stood tall and mysterious, hiding secrets beneath its dense canopy. The cabin, though cozy and warm, sat dangerously close to a series of underground caves that local rangers had warned might be unstable after the recent heavy rains. Just half a mile from the cabin, a massive brown bear named Luna struggled to free herself from fallen rocks. Luna was heavily pregnant, her belly swollen with cubs that would arrive any day. She had sought shelter in what seemed like a safe cave when the first tremors began. Now, trapped beneath a partial collapse, she fought desperately, not just for her life, but for the lives growing inside her. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. Birds stopped singing, and the usual rustling of small animals quieted to an eerie silence. Something was about to happen that would defy everything anyone knew about the natural order of things. A moment when innocence would meet raw survival instinct in the most unexpected way. Savannah placed Lily in her playpen and stepped outside to gather firewood, completely unaware of the danger lurking in the forest, or that her daughter's playpen latch hadn't fully closed. As the wooden gate slowly swung open, Lily crawled out, her tiny hands and knees carrying her toward the mysterious sounds that had captured her attention. "I'll just be a minute, sweet pea," Savannah called over her shoulder, not realizing that her words floated into an empty room, or that her baby was already making her way through the partially open back door, drawn by something no adult could understand. Lily crawled through the tall grass, her tiny body moving with surprising determination. Each push of her hands against the soft earth brought her closer to the source of the strange sounds. The forest floor felt cool against her palms, scattered with pine needles and small twigs that scratched but didn't stop her curious journey. Luna's desperate growls grew louder, echoing through the trees. The pregnant bear clawed at the ground, trying to pull herself free from the weight crushing her hind legs. Dust and small rocks continued to fall from the cave's entrance, signs that more of the structure could give way at any moment. Her dark eyes rolled with panic, and her massive chest heaved with each labored breath. The forest around them seemed alive with tension. Old pine trees swayed slightly, their branches creaking like whispered warnings. A family of deer that had been grazing nearby sensed the danger and bounded away, white tails flashing signals of alarm. A murder of crows circled overhead, their harsh calls adding to the atmosphere of impending disaster. Lily paused at the edge of a small clearing, her baby blue eyes widening at the sight before her. Just 30 feet away, the enormous bear thrashed against the rockfall, sending clouds of dust into the air. The cave entrance loomed like a dark mouth, partially collapsed and threatening to fall further. In her infant mind, Lily couldn't understand the danger, only that the sounds she heard were filled with pain. Back at the cabin, Savannah stacked the last log in her arms and turned to go inside. "Lily, sweetie, Mommy's coming back," she called cheerfully. But as she stepped through the door, the empty playpen sent a bolt of fear through her heart. "Lily!" Her voice rose with panic as she scanned the room. The open back door answered her question before she even asked it. "Lily!" she screamed, dropping the firewood with a clatter as she rushed outside. Meanwhile, Lily had crawled even closer to the bear. She was now just 15 feet away, her small frame partly hidden by a fallen log. Luna sensed the presence of another being and grew still, her nostrils flaring as she caught the unfamiliar scent. Her instincts told her to roar, to scare away any threat, but exhaustion and pain kept her quiet. She watched with wary eyes as the human baby emerged from behind the log. A loud crack split the air as more of the cave began to give way. Larger rocks tumbled down, and Luna let out a pained bellow that shook the clearing. The sound should have terrified Lily, sent her crying and retreating, but instead the baby giggled and continued forward, one small hand reaching out toward the massive creature in distress. In the distance, Savannah's frantic calls grew closer. "Lily, where are you? Lily!" But Lily couldn't hear her mother. She was completely focused on Luna, crawling steadily closer to one of the most dangerous predators in the forest. A predator that was wounded, trapped, and growing more desperate by the second. The ground shuddered beneath Lily as she reached the edge of the rockfall. Luna's massive head turned slowly, her dark eyes meeting the baby's innocent gaze. Time seemed to stop in that moment. Predator and prey, strength and vulnerability, wilderness and civilization face to face in a frozen tableau that defied all natural laws. Another section of the cave entrance collapsed with a deafening roar. Rocks the size of car tires crashed down, missing Luna's head by inches, but further trapping her swollen body. Dust billowed up in thick clouds, momentarily obscuring the scene. When it cleared, Lily had somehow moved even closer, now just an arm's length from Luna's massive paw. "No! Oh God, no!" Savannah's scream cut through the forest as she burst into the clearing, her face pale with terror. She froze, paralyzed by the sight of her baby sitting beside the trapped bear. One swipe of those claws could end Lily's life in an instant. "Lily, don't move, baby," she whispered, her voice trembling as she began to inch forward. Luna's eyes darted between the approaching woman and the baby. The bear's breathing came in sharp, painful gasps. She was running out of time, not just for herself but for the cubs she carried. A low rumble built in her chest, not quite a growl, but a sound of pain and fear. And then Lily did something that would be recounted in hushed, disbelieving whispers for years to come. She placed her tiny hand on Luna's dust-covered paw and patted it gently, the same way she patted her stuffed animals at home. "Bah," she said softly, one of the few sounds in her limited vocabulary. Luna went completely still. The rumble in her chest quieted. Her dark eyes, wide with pain and fear just moments before, seemed to soften as they regarded the small human touching her. Savannah stopped her cautious approach, holding her breath. Every instinct screamed at her to rush forward, to snatch her baby away from danger, but something told her that sudden movement now would be catastrophic. Above them, the remaining structure of the cave entrance shifted ominously. Pebbles and dirt rained down, warning of an imminent collapse. Luna seemed to understand the danger before anyone else. With a sudden surge of strength born of desperation, the bear thrust her massive body forward, freeing one paw completely. But instead of striking at Lily, she did something remarkable. She gently nudged the baby backward, away from the danger zone, just as the entire cave entrance came crashing down. Savannah screamed and lunged forward, but she was too far away. The world seemed to move in slow motion as tons of rock and earth descended. Luna's body disappeared in the dust and debris, and for one heart-stopping moment, Lily was nowhere to be seen. When the dust settled, Savannah stood trembling at the edge of a fresh pile of rubble. "Lily," she sobbed, her voice breaking with despair. Then a small movement caught her eye. Just beyond the edge of the rockfall, protected by a small depression in the ground, Lily sat unharmed, dust covering her from head to toe but otherwise perfectly fine. And beside her, partially buried but still breathing, lay Luna. The bear had somehow managed to push herself forward in that final moment, using her body to shield Lily from the falling rocks while simultaneously freeing herself from the original trap. The forest ranger's truck bounced along the rough trail, responding to Savannah's frantic call. Jacob Bennett had been working these woods for 15 years, but nothing in his training had prepared him for the scene that awaited him. As he pulled into the clearing, he immediately radioed for backup. "We've got a situation with a brown bear and—" He paused, squinting through the windshield, unable to believe what he was seeing. "You're not going to believe this." Savannah stood a safe distance from the rockfall, clutching Lily tightly in her arms. The baby seemed remarkably calm, occasionally pointing at the bear and saying, "Bah," with insistent urgency. Luna lay on her side, her breathing labored but steady. The rockfall had freed her lower body but caused new injuries. Despite this, she made no aggressive moves, watching the humans with an intelligence that seemed beyond animal instinct. "She saved my baby," Savannah told Jacob, tears streaming down her face. The bear pushed Lily out of the way when the cave collapsed. She could have killed her, but she saved her instead. Jacob approached carefully, tranquilizer gun ready. "I've never seen anything like this," he admitted. "Bears don't protect humans. It goes against everything we know about them." As wildlife experts arrived on the scene, they worked cautiously to assess Luna's condition. The bear remained unusually docile, allowing them closer than would normally be possible without sedation. Veterinarian Dr. Avery Johnson made a startling discovery during her examination. "She's in labor," Dr. Johnson announced, her voice hushed with amazement. "The stress must have triggered it early. Those cubs are coming now, and she's too injured to move to a safer location." What followed was unprecedented in wildlife management history. Instead of tranquilizing Luna and moving her to a facility, the team set up a protective perimeter around her, creating an emergency field hospital for a wild bear giving birth. Local news crews arrived, keeping a respectful distance as the amazing story unfolded. Savannah refused to leave, setting up a camp chair at the edge of the safety zone, Lily dozing in her lap. "We're staying," she said firmly when Jacob suggested they go home. "She was there for my daughter. I'm going to be here for her." Through the night, Luna delivered 3 healthy cubs under the watchful eyes of the wildlife team. By morning, the story had gone viral, with news helicopters circling overhead and social media buzzing with the miraculous tale of the bear who saved a human baby. "We're calling it interspecies altruism," explained Dr. Connor Adams, the wildlife biologist who arrived to document the extraordinary event. "There are rare cases where animals of different species help each other, but nothing like this has ever been recorded between a wild predator and a human infant. It challenges everything we thought we knew about animal behavior." As Luna recovered her strength, plans were made to relocate her family to a remote, protected area of the forest once she could be safely moved. The cave site was declared too unstable, with geologists determining that an underground spring had eroded the foundations over many years. 1 week later, as Luna and her cubs were prepared for transport to their new home, Savannah brought Lily to say goodbye from a safe distance. The moment was captured by dozens of cameras. The baby waving her small hand, the mother bear raising her head to look one last time at the tiny human she had inexplicably chosen to protect. "Some things science can't explain," Jacob said quietly, standing beside Savannah. "Sometimes there's something more powerful at work." Savannah nodded, tears in her eyes. Luna could have seen Lily as prey, or as a threat to her cubs. Instead, she recognized something worth saving. She kissed her daughter's head. "I think there's a lesson for all of us in that." As the transport vehicle pulled away, carrying Luna and her cubs to a new beginning, Lily reached out one hand toward the departing bear and said her first clear word, "Friend." The story of Lily and Luna quickly became more than just a viral sensation. It evolved into a watershed moment for wildlife conservation and research. Scientists from around the world descended on Whispering Pine Forest, hoping to understand what had transpired between the human baby and the mother bear. Dr. Michael Hayes, a renowned animal behaviorist, spent weeks interviewing Savannah and studying footage captured by forest cameras. "What we're seeing here might be evidence of emotional intelligence in bears that far exceeds our previous understanding," he explained during a TED Talk that would later be viewed millions of times. Luna didn't just avoid harming Lily, she actively protected her at great risk to herself and her unborn cubs. The clearing where the event took place became something of a pilgrimage site. Visitors left flowers, stuffed bears, and handwritten notes. Local authorities eventually had to restrict access to protect the recovering forest ecosystem. Savannah found herself reluctantly thrust into the spotlight, appearing on national talk shows to recount the miraculous event. "I don't think it was just luck," she told a tearful television host. "When I saw Luna look at Lily, there was recognition there. Not of a baby human, but simply of a baby." A mother recognized another mother's child and acted accordingly. 3 months after the incident, Savannah was approached by publishers wanting to create a children's book about Lily and Luna. She hesitated at first, but eventually agreed when the publishers promised that a significant portion of the proceeds would go toward bear conservation efforts. The resulting book, The Bear Who Saved Me, told through Lily's imaginative perspective, became a bestseller and was translated into 27 languages. Luna and her cubs thrived in their new protected habitat. Rangers set up discreet observation posts, and researchers noted that Luna displayed unusually calm behavior around humans, though she kept her distance and taught her cubs to do the same. The area became the site of a groundbreaking study on bear cognition and emotional development. On Lily's second birthday, Savannah took her to a special observation platform where they could safely watch Luna's family from afar. The cubs had grown significantly, playing and tumbling in a meadow while their mother kept watchful guard. Lily, now walking and talking in short sentences, pointed excitedly. "Bear friend," she said clearly, pressing her small hand against the glass. Savannah smiled through tears. "Yes, baby, bear friend." As they watched, Luna raised her head and seemed to look directly at the observation platform, though it was impossible to know if the bear recognized them specifically at that distance. She paused in her vigilance for a long moment before returning to her cubs. Jacob Bennett, who had become a close friend to Savannah and Lily, stood beside them. "You know, the indigenous people who first lived in these forests believed that bears were teachers, that they had wisdom to share with humans if we were humble enough to listen." "What do you think Luna was trying to teach us?" Savannah asked softly. Jacob considered this for a moment. "Maybe that kindness doesn't always follow the rules we think it should. That compassion can cross boundaries we believe are fixed." A year later, Savannah founded the Lily Luna Foundation, dedicated to preserving wildlife habitats and promoting coexistence between humans and large predators. The foundation's logo, a small handprint overlapping a bear paw, became an internationally recognized symbol for interspecies conservation efforts. Scientists continued to debate the meaning of what had happened that day in the forest. Some argued it was simple instinct, a coincidence of timing and animal behavior. Others saw it as evidence of complex emotional reasoning in bears that humans had previously failed to recognize or respect. But for those who had been there, for Savannah, for Jacob, for Dr. Avery Johnson, who had helped deliver Luna's cubs in the shadow of a collapsed cave, no scientific explanation could fully capture the power of what they had witnessed. A moment when the barriers between species fell away, revealing a deeper connection that transcended natural laws and human understanding. And whenever anyone asked Lily, now growing into a thoughtful young girl with an uncanny affinity for animals, what she remembered about the bear who saved her life, she would simply smile and say, "She knew I was just a cub, too." 5 years passed, and the legend of Lily and Luna continued to inspire conservation efforts worldwide. The Lily Luna Foundation had grown into a powerful advocate for wildlife protection, helping to establish 3 new bear sanctuaries across North America. Savannah, once a simple cabin dweller at the forest's edge, now traveled internationally, speaking about coexistence with wildlife. Lily, now 6 years old with her mother's red hair, and a wisdom in her eyes that seemed far beyond her years, had become an unwitting ambassador for a new generation of conservationists. Schools invited her and Savannah to speak, and children hung on every word of the story, now polished smooth with countless retellings. Dr. Haley Dawson, the world's leading expert on bear cognition, published a groundbreaking paper in Nature, detailing her observations of Luna and other bears in the region. "What we're discovering," she wrote, "is that bears possess a level of empathetic reasoning previously thought to exist only in primates and some marine mammals. The Luna-Lily incident wasn't an anomaly. It was a window into capabilities that have always been there, hidden from human understanding." The paper included remarkable findings from new research methods, non-invasive brain scanning technology that allowed scientists to observe bear brain activity from a distance. The data showed complex neural patterns when bears encountered situations requiring social decision-making, particularly involving cubs, either their own or those of other species. In essence, Dr. Dawson explained during a university lecture that went viral, Luna may have responded to Lily not as a human, but simply as a vulnerable infant requiring protection. The same neural pathways that activate when a mother bear protects her cubs lit up when Luna encountered Lily. Luna herself had become something of a legend among rangers. Now, with 3 half-grown cubs constantly at her side, she patrolled a territory that occasionally overlapped with hiking trails. Unlike most bears, who typically avoided human contact, Luna seemed comfortable with distant human observation. Rangers noted that she would often sit calmly if the hikers appeared on trails, neither approaching nor retreating, simply watching with intelligent eyes until they moved on. On the 5th anniversary of the cave collapse, Savannah and Lily returned to the observation platform with Jacob Bennett, who had since become Savannah's husband and Lily's stepfather. The family had moved to a larger home at the forest's edge, one with reinforced foundations and a state-of-the-art wildlife monitoring system. As they scanned the meadow with binoculars, Lily suddenly pointed. "There she is." Sure enough, Luna had appeared at the forest's edge, now an impressive mature bear with the distinctive white chest patch that had made her easily identifiable over the years. Behind her, 3 adolescent bears followed, nearly full-grown but still deferring to their mother's authority. "She's brought the whole family," Jacob said with quiet amazement. "It's almost like she knows what day it is." Savannah smiled. "Don't start sounding like all those people who want to turn this into something mystical. Luna's just a bear following her normal patterns." A bear who saved a human child, Jacob reminded her gently. Lily, who had been quietly watching through children's binoculars, suddenly lowered them and looked up at her mother. "Can I ask Luna something?" Savannah knelt beside her daughter. "Honey, bears can't understand human words, even special bears like Luna." "But she might understand feelings," Lily insisted with the unwavering certainty of childhood. "Dr. Haley said bears understand feelings." Jacob and Savannah exchanged looks. After a moment, Jacob nodded. "The observation window opens. If you want to speak to her, you can—" With solemn concentration, Lily pressed the button that slid open a small speaking panel in the observation window. The rangers had installed it to allow researchers to record bear vocalizations, but it worked both ways, allowing limited sound to travel outward as well. "Luna," Lily called, her voice clear and carrying across the meadow. "Thank you for saving me." At the sound of the human voice, Luna's 3 cubs immediately tensed, moving closer to their mother. But Luna herself remained perfectly still, her large head turned toward the observation platform. For a long moment, bear and child regarded each other across the distance. Then Luna did something that would be documented in scientific journals and debated for years to come. She rose onto her hind legs, not in the threatening posture bears sometimes adopt, but in a deliberate, calm stance that allowed her to see over the tall meadow grass. For nearly 30 seconds she stood, looking directly at the observation platform where Lily stood with her hand pressed against the glass. "She remembers," Lily whispered. Dr. Avery Johnson, who had joined them for the anniversary, quickly photographed the moment. "This is extraordinary behavior," she said quietly. "Bears don't typically acknowledge human presence this way unless they feel threatened, and there's no sign of threat behavior here." Finally, Luna dropped back to all fours and, with a gentle nudge to her cubs, led her family back into the depths of the forest. Later that evening, as the sun set over Whispering Pine Forest, Savannah tucked Lily into bed in their woodland home. "Mom," Lily said sleepily, "Miss Lopez at school says that sometimes animals are angels in disguise, sent to teach us things. Do you think Luna is an angel?" Savannah smiled as she smoothed her daughter's hair. "I think Luna is exactly what she appears to be, a wild bear with her own life and her own family. And I think that's miraculous enough without making her into something else." "But she did save me," Lily persisted. "Yes, she did," Savannah acknowledged, "and that teaches us something important about the world." "What?" Lily asked, her eyes already drooping with sleep. "That kindness can come from unexpected places, that sometimes the boundaries we draw between ourselves and the rest of the world aren't as solid as we think." She kissed her daughter's forehead. "And that's a kind of miracle, too." As Lily drifted off to sleep, Savannah stood at the window, looking out at the darkening forest. Somewhere out there, Luna was settling her family for the night, a wild creature living according to ancient instincts and rhythms. And yet, for one extraordinary moment, those instincts had expanded to include a human child, creating a connection that defied explanation and changed countless lives. The true miracle, Savannah thought as she watched the first stars appear above the trees, wasn't that a bear had somehow become more than a bear. It was that humans were finally beginning to recognize and honor the complex emotional lives that had always existed in the creatures with whom they shared the world. In protecting Lily, Luna had also protected something else, a growing understanding that compassion might be the most natural instinct of all. 10 years after the cave collapse, Whispering Pine Forest had been transformed. What was once a remote woodland dotted with a few isolated cabins had become the site of the internationally acclaimed Interspecies Research Center, a sprawling facility dedicated to studying animal cognition and emotional intelligence. Lily Morgan, now 11 years old with sun-freckled cheeks and her mother's determined spirit, walked confidently along the center's main path, her school backpack slung over one shoulder. The path was lined with interpretive panels telling the story that had changed her life before she was old enough to remember it, the story that everyone else seemed to know better than she did. "Hey, Bear Girl," called Logan Carter, a boy from her class who was visiting the center with his family. The nickname had followed Lily throughout her school years, sometimes spoken with awe, sometimes with teasing. She had learned to accept it with a shrug and a smile. "Just Lily is fine," she replied, continuing toward the main research building where her mother worked as the community outreach director. The center had become a magnet for scientists and wildlife enthusiasts from around the world. Cutting-edge research conducted there had revolutionized understanding of animal consciousness, particularly regarding bears. Luna's 3 cubs, now fully grown and with territories of their own, remained the most studied bear family in scientific history. Luna herself had become something of a scientific celebrity, though she remained wild and free. Now, in her later years, she had produced 2 more litters and was grandmother to 7 cubs. Researchers noted that her entire line showed unusual behavioral patterns, a higher tolerance for human observation, more complex problem-solving abilities, and what appeared to be intentional teaching behaviors toward the younger bears. Lily entered the research building, nodding to the security guard who knew her well. She made her way to the conference room where her mother was hosting a symposium on interspecies communication. Slipping quietly through the door, she took a seat at the back of the room. Dr. Connor Adams was presenting, pointing to brain scan images projected on a large screen. "What we're seeing here is unprecedented. The neural patterns in Luna's descendants show distinct differences from other bear populations, particularly in areas associated with social recognition and emotional processing." A scientist in the front row raised her hand. "But we still have no explanation for the initial incident. What would motivate a wild bear to protect a human infant?" Dr. Adams nodded thoughtfully. "There are several theories. Some suggest Luna may have misidentified Lily as a bear cub due to her small size and crawling posture. Others propose that the hormonal changes of pregnancy might have temporarily altered Luna's threat perception. But frankly, after a decade of research, we have to consider another possibility, that what we witnessed was genuine cross-species empathy, something that challenges our understanding of animal consciousness." From the back of the room, Lily listened intently. She had heard these discussions her entire life, had grown up surrounded by scientists trying to explain something that, to her, seemed simple. Luna had protected her because she needed protection. Why did adults make everything so complicated? After the symposium, Savannah found Lily waiting in her office. "Hey, sweetheart, I didn't know you were coming by today." Lily fidgeted with the zipper of her jacket. "Mom, I want to see her." Savannah didn't need to ask who "her" was. This conversation had been building for years. "Lily, you know that's not possible. Luna is a wild bear. No matter what happened that day, it would be dangerous and irresponsible to—" "Not up close," Lily interrupted. "I just want to see her from the observation platform. By myself." Savannah studied her daughter's face, seeing not just determination but a deep need that she had perhaps underestimated. All these years, while Luna had been studied and observed, while books had been written and movies made about their miraculous encounter, Lily herself had been protected from direct contact with the central figure in her life story. "Why now?" Savannah asked gently. Lily took a deep breath. "Because I'm the only one who doesn't remember. Everyone talks about what happened, what it means, what Luna was thinking. But I was there, and I don't remember any of it." Her voice wavered slightly. "It's like there's this huge thing that shaped my whole life, and I wasn't even there for it. Not really." Understanding dawned in Savannah's eyes. While she had been protecting Lily from potential trauma or exploitation, she had perhaps denied her daughter the chance to form her own relationship with her story. "Let me talk to Jacob," she said finally. "If he thinks Luna's been spotted recently in one of the safe viewing areas, maybe we can arrange something." 3 days later, Jacob led Lily along a quiet trail to a secluded observation blind he had selected carefully. Unlike the main public viewing platforms, this was a simple camouflaged shelter used primarily by researchers for long-term behavioral studies. "Luna was spotted in this meadow yesterday with one of her youngest granddaughters," Jacob explained as they settled into the blind. "Remember, she might not appear at all. Bears aren't predictable, even ones as well studied as Luna." Lily nodded, her heart pounding with anticipation. "How will I know it's her?" "The white chest patch," Jacob reminded her, "and her size. She's larger than most females in the area." "But Lily," he added gently, "don't expect any recognition. Whatever happened that day was extraordinary, but it was 10 years ago." For 2 hours they sat in silence. Jacob occasionally made notes in his field journal, but Lily simply watched, her eyes scanning the meadow and the forest edge beyond. The afternoon sun began to slant through the trees, creating long shadows across the open space. "We should head back soon," Jacob said finally, trying to keep the disappointment from his voice. "Your mom will be wondering where we are." Lily nodded but made no move to leave. "Just a few more minutes," she pleaded. Jacob checked his watch and nodded. 10 more minutes, then we really have to go." 7 minutes later, as the golden afternoon light bathed the meadow in a warm glow, movement at the forest edge caught Lily's attention. A bear emerged slowly from the trees, massive, with a distinctive white patch gleaming on her chest. "That's her," Jacob whispered, instantly alert. "That's Luna." Behind Luna came a smaller bear, presumably the granddaughter researchers had spotted the day before. The younger bear frolicked in the tall grass while Luna moved with the careful, deliberate pace of age and experience. Lily sat perfectly still, barely breathing. This was the creature that had saved her life, the bear whose actions had transformed not just her fate, but the direction of wildlife science. She searched her feelings, hoping for some spark of recognition, some sense of connection, but found only wonder and a strange, unexpected sadness. "She looks so normal," Lily whispered. "Just a bear doing bear things." Jacob smiled softly. "That's the most extraordinary thing about her, isn't it? She is just a bear. And yet, she did something that changed how we think about bears forever." As they watched, Luna raised her head, her nostrils flaring as she tested the air. For a moment, she seemed to look directly at the observation blind, though Jacob knew the structure was well camouflaged and downwind. "She knows we're here," Lily said with quiet certainty. Jacob started to explain that this was unlikely, that the blind was designed to prevent detection, but the words died on his lips as Luna took several deliberate steps toward their position. The younger bear, sensing something amiss, hurried to Luna's side. "Stay very still," Jacob whispered, his hand moving instinctively toward the bear spray at his belt. But Lily showed no fear, only a focused intensity as she watched Luna's approach. The bear stopped about 50 yards from the blind, close enough that they could see the gray fur around her muzzle, the scars from a lifetime in the wild etched into her massive body. For nearly a full minute, she stood there, looking toward their hiding place with an unwavering gaze. Then, in a gesture that Jacob would later struggle to explain in his field notes, Luna rose up on her hind legs. Just as she had done 5 years earlier at the observation platform, she stood tall, her front paws hanging loosely at her sides, her head tilted slightly as if in curiosity or acknowledgement. "She remembers," Lily whispered, echoing her words from years before. Jacob, a scientist to his core, knew there were many explanations for Luna's behavior that didn't involve recognition of a human she had encountered briefly a decade ago. But watching Lily's face, seeing the peace and wonder that spread across it, he chose for once not to offer alternative theories. After a moment, Luna dropped back to all fours and, with a gentle nudge to her granddaughter, returned to the forest, disappearing among the trees as quietly as she had emerged. The ride home was quiet, Lily lost in thought as she stared out the window at the passing forest. Finally, she broke the silence. "I understood something today," she said. "What's that?" Jacob asked. "All these years, people have been trying to figure out why Luna saved me. Was it instinct or empathy or maternal hormones or whatever?" She turned to look at her stepfather. "But maybe the why doesn't matter as much as everyone thinks. Maybe the important thing is just that she did." Jacob nodded slowly. "That's pretty profound, Lily." She smiled, a weight seeming to lift from her shoulders. "I don't need to remember that day to know what happened. Luna saved me. I'm here because of her. And now I've seen her, just being herself in the forest where she belongs." She paused, looking back out at the trees. "That's enough." As they pulled up to their home, where Savannah waited anxiously on the porch, Jacob reflected that perhaps Lily had understood something that a decade of scientific inquiry had missed. Sometimes the miracle wasn't in the explanation but in the simple fact of connection. A moment when two species had transcended the boundaries between them, not through language or science, but through the most basic impulse of all, to protect a life that needed protecting. And perhaps that was enough. On her 18th birthday, Lily Morgan stood at the edge of Whispering Pine Forest, preparing to leave home for college. She had been accepted to the University of British Columbia's prestigious wildlife biology program, her application bolstered by a lifetime of informal education at the research center that had grown around her story. "Are you sure you have everything?" Savannah asked, trying to hide the catch in her voice as she helped Lily load the last of her bags into the car. "Mom, we've checked 3 times, Lily laughed, though her own eyes shimmered with unshed tears. The bond between them had always been special, forged in that terrifying moment when Savannah had thought she'd lost her daughter forever. Jacob finished securing Lily's mountain bike to the car rack. "Your dorm is all set up, your meal plan is activated, and you have the emergency contact numbers for the university's wildlife management team." "Still think I should have picked a school without a resident bear population?" Lily teased, referencing the ongoing family joke about her unusual comfort around the animals that most people feared. "We think you should be exactly where you want to be," Savannah said, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. "Just promise you'll call home often." "Every week," Lily promised, breathing in her mother's familiar scent of pine and cinnamon one last time before stepping back. "And I'll be home for Thanksgiving break." As the family shared final hugs and goodbyes, none of them noticed the figure watching from the tree line, Park Ranger Ethan Marshall, who had been monitoring Luna's movements for the past 15 years. His weathered face creased with concern as he observed the farewell scene. There was something he hadn't told the Morgan family, something the research center had been keeping quiet for months now. Luna was dying. The great bear, now approaching 20 years old, ancient by wild bear standards, had been showing signs of severe decline. Her movements had slowed, her hunting success had diminished, and most concerning, she had separated herself from her family group, a common behavior in aging bears preparing for death. Ethan had debated whether to share this information with the Morgans before Lily left for college. In the end, he had decided against it. Let the girl begin her new chapter without that shadow. There would be time enough for sad news later. As Lily's car disappeared down the long forest road, Ethan's radio crackled to life. "Marshall, come in. We've got unusual bear activity at the North Ridge observation point." "Over." Ethan frowned. The North Ridge was nearly 10 miles from Luna's last known location. "What kind of activity?" "Over." "It's Luna, sir. Well, you should see for yourself." "Over." 20 minutes later, Ethan arrived at the North Ridge observation point, a small platform built into the side of a cliff that overlooked a vast swath of the forest reserve. "Oh." 2 junior rangers waited nervously by their vehicle. "Where is she?" Ethan asked. The younger ranger, Jessica Brooks, pointed toward the valley below. "Down by the old cave system, sir, the same area where—" "I know the area." Ethan cut her off, lifting his binoculars. It took him only moments to spot the massive form of Luna, her once dark coat now grizzled with age, moving with painful slowness toward the collapsed cave entrance where she had been trapped 18 years ago. "She's been circling that area for hours," Jessica explained. "Dr. Hayes thinks she might be returning to a familiar place to pass on." Ethan lowered his binoculars slowly. It's not uncommon for old bears to seek out sheltered places when they're nearing the end, but this specific location— He didn't finish the thought, but all 3 rangers understood the implications. Of all the places in her vast territory, Luna had chosen to return to the site where her path had crossed with a human child's so many years ago. "Should we notify the Morgan family?" Jessica asked hesitantly. Ethan was about to say no when a strange noise from below caught his attention. He raised the binoculars again and felt his breath catch. Luna wasn't alone. Gathered around her at a respectful distance were 7 other bears, her adult cubs and grand-cubs, some of whom had established territories miles away. They formed a loose semicircle around the old matriarch, a behavior so unusual that Ethan could scarcely believe what he was seeing. "Get Dr. Hayes on the radio," he ordered, his voice hushed with awe. "And yes, contact Jacob Bennett. The family should know about this." 300 miles away, Lily's phone vibrated in her pocket as she helped her new roommate unpack. She glanced at the screen and frowned at the unfamiliar number. "Everything okay?" asked her roommate, a cheerful biology major named Min, who had already decorated her side of the room with posters of endangered species. "Not sure," Lily murmured, stepping into the hallway to take the call. "Hello?" "Lily, it's Ethan Marshall from the Park Service." The ranger's voice sounded strained. "I'm sorry to bother you on your first day at university, but something's happening that I thought you should know about." A cold feeling settled in Lily's stomach. "Is it my parents? Are they okay?" "Your parents are fine," Ethan assured her quickly. "It's Luna." Lily leaned against the wall, her heart suddenly pounding. "What about her?" "She's returned to the cave site, Lily. The exact place where she encountered you 18 years ago. And she's not alone. Her entire family has gathered around her. We've never documented behavior like this before." Lily closed her eyes, trying to process this information. "Is she hurt?" There was a pause on the line. "She's old, Lily. Very old for a wild bear. Dr. Hayes believes she may be reaching the end of her natural life." The words hit Lily like a physical blow. Although she had no conscious memory of the bear saving her life, Luna had been a constant presence in her world, a living legend whose story had shaped Lily's entire existence. The thought of a world without Luna in it seemed impossible. "I'm coming back," she said firmly. Lily, you just got to college. Your classes start tomorrow, and I'm coming back, she repeated, her voice leaving no room for argument. Please, tell my parents I'll be on the next bus. I can be there by morning. After ending the call, Lily stood frozen in the hallway, her mind racing. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could wipe it away. Behind her, the dorm room door opened, and Min poked her head out. Hey, everything okay? She asked, concerned. Lily turned, struggling to find the words to explain. You know the story about the baby and the bear, the one they made all those documentaries about? Min's eyes widened with recognition. Of course. That happened at Whispering Pine Forest. It's one of the most famous animal-human interaction cases ever documented. The bear saved a baby from a cave-in and... She stopped abruptly, her gaze sharpening as she looked at Lily with new understanding. Wait, are you... Lily nodded. I was that baby. And the bear, her name is Luna. She's dying. I need to go back. Without hesitation, Min grabbed her car keys from her desk. My car's in the campus lot. I can drive you. It'll be faster than the bus. Lily stared at her new roommate in surprise. But you don't even know me. You'd do that? Min shrugged, a determined smile spreading across her face. That story inspired me to study biology in the first place. There's no way I'm letting you miss saying goodbye to the bear that changed how we understand animal consciousness. Besides, she added with a grin, this will make one hell of a roommate bonding experience. 6 hours later, Min's compact car sped through the darkness toward Whispering Pine Forest, headlights cutting through a light fog that had settled over the mountain roads. Lily sat in the passenger seat, staring out at the ghostly landscape, her mind filled with confused emotions. She had waited so long to start her new life, to step out of the shadow of her famous story, and now here she was, rushing back at the first call. You're very quiet, Min observed, keeping her eyes on the winding road. Want to talk about it? Lily sighed. It's just complicated. Everyone thinks they know what happened that day, the miracle of interspecies empathy, the bear who defied her nature to save a human child. It's been studied and analyzed and turned into books and movies, but I don't remember any of it. That must be strange, Min said thoughtfully. To have the most important moment of your life be something you can't recall. Exactly. Lily pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the window. And now Luna is dying, and I feel this obligation to be there. But I don't know if it's for her, or for everyone who expects me to care, or for some idea of closure that I'm not sure I even need. Min navigated a sharp curve before responding. Maybe it doesn't matter why you're going. Maybe what matters is that something inside you felt strongly enough to turn around on your first day of college and drive 6 hours through the night. Lily considered this, watching the trees thicken as they neared the forest preserve. I just hope we're not too late. As they approached the main entrance to Whispering Pine Research Center, Lily was surprised to see the parking lot filled with vehicles despite the late hour. News vans with satellite dishes lined the perimeter, and a small crowd of journalists huddled near the visitor center. Word must have gotten out, Min murmured as they pulled into the lot. Jacob was waiting at the gate, his ranger uniform rumpled as though he had been wearing it for days. When he saw Lily exit the car, relief washed over his tired face. You made it, he said, embracing his stepdaughter tightly. Your mom's up at North Ridge with Dr. Hayes and the observation team. I'll take you there. As Jacob led Lily and Min toward his Park Service vehicle, a reporter broke away from the group and hurried toward them, microphone extended. Lily Morgan, is it true you've returned because Luna is dying? Do you believe she recognizes you after all these years? Jacob stepped between Lily and the journalist. "No comments right now. This is a sensitive wildlife situation, not a media circus." His voice was firm but controlled. Years of dealing with press inquiries had taught him how to be authoritative without creating unnecessary tension. In the truck, climbing the steep road to North Ridge, Jacob filled Lily in on the situation. Luna hasn't moved from the cave site for almost 24 hours now. Her family group remains with her, all 3 of her surviving cubs from different litters, plus 4 of her grand cubs. We've never seen anything like it. "Is she in pain?" Lily asked quietly. Jacob's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Doctor?" "Hayes doesn't think so. She's just fading. Bears sometimes know when it's their time." The observation point at North Ridge had been transformed into a makeshift research station. Portable lights illuminated the area, and sophisticated camera equipment was trained on the valley below. Savannah rushed to embrace Lily as soon as she stepped out of the vehicle. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so glad you're here," she whispered, holding her daughter tightly. "I wasn't sure if you should come, but Luna seemed to be waiting for something, and I couldn't help thinking." Lily stepped back, wiping away tears. "It's okay, Mom. I wanted to be here." She turned to introduce Min, then approached the observation railing where Dr. Haley Dawson stood watching the scene below through a night vision scope. "Dr. Dawson," Lily said softly, "may I see?" The scientist's face was solemn as she stepped aside, gesturing toward the scope. "She's right where she was when I arrived yesterday morning, Lily. I've never witnessed anything like this in 30 years of bear research." Lily bent to look through the scope, her breath catching as the green-tinted image came into focus. In a small clearing near the collapsed cave entrance lay Luna, her massive body curled in a position of rest, her breathing visibly labored even from this distance. Around her, 7 other bears maintained their vigil, some lying down, others sitting upright as though standing guard. None made any move to leave. "It's like a wake," Min whispered, peering through another scope nearby. "They're saying goodbye." Dr. Michael Hayes, who had been conferring with other researchers, approached the group. "Lily, I'm glad you're here. We've been discussing whether to intervene. Luna is in the final stages of natural decline, but we could ease her passing with medical assistance." Lily stared at him in disbelief. "You want to euthanize her?" The scientist held up his hands. "It would be the most humane option. She's suffering and no." The word came out more forcefully than Lily had intended, causing several researchers to turn in surprise. She took a deep breath before continuing. "Luna has lived her entire life in the wild. She should finish it on her own terms." Dr. Hayes looked ready to argue, but Savannah stepped forward. "I agree with my daughter. Luna isn't just any bear. She's earned the right to leave this world in her own way, with her family around her." The tension in the air was palpable as the 2 viewpoints clashed. Finally, Jacob spoke up, his calm voice cutting through the conflict. "This is still a wilderness area, and our management policy has always been minimal intervention. Unless there's clear evidence of undue suffering, we observe but don't interfere." Dr. Hayes nodded reluctantly. "Very well. We'll continue monitoring through the night." As the group dispersed to various tasks, Ethan Marshall approached Lily hesitantly. "There's something else you should know," he said in a low voice. "We've noticed something strange about Luna's chosen location. She's not just at the general cave site. She's positioned herself exactly where you were found after the collapse. The precise spot." Lily felt a chill run through her that had nothing to do with the night air. How could she remember that after 18 years? Ethan shook his head. "That's just it. Scientifically, she shouldn't, but here we are." As the night deepened, most of the research team retreated to the heated observation shelter, taking turns monitoring the scene below. Lily remained at the railing, wrapped in a blanket Jacob had brought her, her eyes rarely leaving the valley where Luna lay with her family. Min joined her around midnight, offering a cup of steaming coffee. "The researchers are going crazy in there," she said, nodding toward the shelter. "This gathering of bears breaks about 15 assumptions about solitary bear behavior. They're rewriting textbooks as we speak." Lily accepted the coffee gratefully. "You should get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." "Are you kidding? This is the most amazing thing I've ever witnessed. I'm not missing a minute." Min leaned against the railing, studying her new friend's profile in the moonlight. "You know, everyone in there keeps talking about what Luna might be thinking or feeling, but no one's asked you the same question." Lily was silent for a long moment before responding. "I keep thinking about something Jacob told me years ago, about how indigenous people believed bears were teachers, that they had wisdom to share if we were willing to listen." She turned to look at Min, her eyes reflecting the starlight. What if Luna's final lesson isn't just for scientists to study? What if it's personal, for her family, and maybe for me? As dawn approached, casting the first pale light over the valley, Dr. Dawson's urgent voice broke the pre-dawn quiet. "Everyone! Something's happening." Researchers spilled from the shelter, cameras and scopes trained on the scene below. Through her scope, Lily could see movement among the bears. Luna's family had drawn closer to her, some gently nosing her still form. The old matriarch seemed to be making an effort to raise her head one last time. "Her vital signs are dropping," Dr. Hayes reported, watching a monitor that displayed data from long-range biosensors. "This is likely the end." Tears streamed down Lily's face as she watched the bear who had saved her life struggle for one final moment of connection with her family. Around her, researchers documented the scene with scientific detachment, but Lily felt something breaking inside her, a connection she hadn't fully acknowledged until it was about to be severed forever. "I need to go down there," she said suddenly, straightening up from the scope. Jacob stared at her in alarm. "Lily, that's not possible. There are 7 bears around her, all likely stressed and unpredictable. It's not safe." "I don't care," Lily insisted, a determination in her voice that Savannah recognized all too well. It was the same tone she had used as a child when she'd insisted on seeing Luna alone. "She came back to the exact spot where she saved me. I can't let her die without completing the circle," Savannah finished softly, understanding in her eyes. She turned to Jacob, her expression pleading. "There has to be a way." Dr. Hayes interrupted, his voice harsh with concern. "This is absolutely out of the question. We cannot allow a civilian to approach multiple wild bears in a highly emotional situation. The risk is unacceptable." Ethan Marshall, who had been quietly observing the discussion, suddenly spoke up. "There might be a way." All eyes turned to him as he continued. "The old research blind is still there, about 100 yards from Luna's position. It would allow Lily to be much closer, though still at a safe distance." "That blind hasn't been maintained in years," Jacob objected. "It might not be structurally sound." "I inspected it just last month," Ethan countered. "It's solid, and there's a secure access path through the North Gulch that wouldn't bring Lily into direct line of sight with the bears until she's safely inside the blind." Dr. Hayes shook his head vehemently. "This is completely against protocol. As a senior researcher, I cannot authorize—" "It's not your decision to authorize," Savannah interrupted, her voice quiet but firm. "This is still Morgan land surrounding the research preserve. The blind is on our property." She turned to Ethan. You'll take full responsibility for my daughter's safety? The ranger nodded solemnly. Yes, ma'am, with your permission. Savannah looked at Jacob, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Jacob sighed. I'll go with them. Dr. Hayes threw up his hands in frustration. This is extremely ill-advised. If anything happens, nothing will happen, Lily said, with a certainty she couldn't explain. Luna would never hurt me. 20 minutes later, Lily followed Ethan and Jacob down a narrow trail that wound through dense underbrush. Each step brought her closer to the bear who had shaped her life's path before she could even walk. Behind them came Min, who had insisted on accompanying her new friend despite the risks, and Dr. Dawson, who had broken ranks with Dr. Hayes to document what she called a potentially unprecedented interspecies farewell. The morning mist hung heavy among the trees, muffling their footsteps as they approached the weathered wooden structure of the research blind. Through gaps in the foliage, Lily caught glimpses of the clearing where Luna lay surrounded by her family. Almost there, Ethan whispered, leading them along the final stretch of path. The blind entrance is around this bend. Once inside, you'll have a clear view through the observation slats. As they rounded the bend, Jacob suddenly threw out an arm, stopping the group in their tracks. The path ahead was blocked by an enormous bear sitting motionless before the blind entrance. It was one of Luna's adult cubs, a male with a distinctive scar across his muzzle. Don't move, Jacob breathed, his hand going instinctively to the bear spray on his belt. Nobody make any sudden movements. The bear regarded them with intelligent eyes, making no aggressive moves but clearly unwilling to yield the path. It was an impasse. With the steep ravine to one side and dense underbrush to the other, there was no way around. He's blocking us deliberately, Dr. Dawson whispered, her scientific mind struggling to process what her eyes were seeing. It's almost as if he knows why we're here, Ethan finished, his voice hushed with wonder. Lily felt a strange calm settle over her as she looked at the massive creature blocking their path. Without fully understanding why, she took a small step forward. Lily, Savannah hissed in alarm. It's okay, Mom, Lily said softly, her eyes never leaving the bear's. I think I understand. The bear rose to his full height as Lily approached, towering over her at nearly 8 feet tall. Every instinct screamed at the others to pull her back, to retreat, to flee from the potential danger. But something in the bear's posture, a lack of aggression, a watchful waiting, kept them rooted in place. He doesn't want all of us to approach, Lily said, the realization coming to her with surprising clarity. Just me. Absolutely not, Jacob stated firmly. I'm not letting you go alone. Lily turned to her stepfather, her expression serene despite the extraordinary circumstances. Jacob, you've spent your life studying these bears. Have you ever seen one act aggressively toward me, even once? The ranger hesitated, then reluctantly shook his head. Number Luna's entire line has always maintained a strange awareness around you. But Lily, this is different. Luna is dying. Her family is distressed. We can't predict. I trust them, Lily said simply, and I think they trust me. A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications of her words sank in. Finally, Savannah stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears, but her voice steady. Let her go. Savannah. Jacob began to protest. She's right, Savannah insisted. This circle began 18 years ago when Luna saved our daughter. If Lily feels she needs to be there at the end, I trust her instinct. She turned to her daughter, cupping her face gently. But stay in the blind, understand? Promise me you won't go out into the open. Lily nodded, embracing her mother tightly before turning back to the bear. The massive animal studied her for a moment longer, then slowly lowered itself to all fours and moved aside, creating just enough space for a single person to pass. "We'll be right here," Ethan assured her, his hand resting on his tranquilizer gun. "Any sign of trouble, you call out immediately." With a final nod to her family and friends, Lily stepped forward, walking slowly but confidently past the bear guardian. She felt the animal's breath warm on her arm as she passed, but there was no growl, no threatening movement, only an almost palpable sense of recognition. The old research blind was little more than a wooden box with narrow slits for observation, but it offered a clear view of the clearing where Luna lay. Lily settled on the worn bench inside, her heart pounding as she took in the scene before her. Luna's massive form was still now, her breathing shallow and increasingly labored. Around her, 7 bears maintained their vigil, occasionally touching her gently with a paw or muzzle in what could only be described as comfort. In the growing morning light, Lily could see the white patch on Luna's chest, now streaked with gray, that had always made her easily identifiable to researchers. "I'm here, Luna," Lily whispered, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. "I don't know if you remember me, but I'm here." As if in response to her voice, Luna's eyes slowly opened, her massive head turning slightly toward the blind. For a breathtaking moment, Lily felt that the bear was looking directly at her, bridging the years that separated the baby from the cave and the young woman in the blind. Outside, the assembled group watched in astonishment as the bear that had blocked their path returned to Luna's side, taking up position directly between the dying matriarch and the blind where Lily sat. One by one, the other bears shifted their positions as well, creating a half-circle that both sheltered Luna and acknowledged Lily's presence. "This is extraordinary, Doctor," Dawson breathed, frantically documenting the scene with her camera. "They're creating a shared space, including Lily in the family circle, while still protecting Luna." Inside the blind, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of connection that transcended memory or understanding. She began to speak softly, the words coming from some deep place she hadn't known existed within her. "Thank you for my life, Luna, for the path you set me on, for showing the world that boundaries between species aren't as fixed as we thought." Her voice broke as she continued, "I don't remember that day, but I've carried it with me every day since. You've been my North Star, guiding me toward who I'm becoming." Luna's eyes remained fixed on the blind, a quiet intelligence in her gaze that seemed to hold understanding beyond what science could explain. Her breathing slowed further, each inhalation more labored than the last. The sun broke fully over the mountains, bathing the clearing in golden light. In that radiance, Luna took one final, deep breath, and then was still, her eyes closing peacefully as she exhaled. A profound silence fell over the forest. Even the birds seemed to pause their morning songs. Luna's family remained motionless around her, no sound or movement disturbing the solemn moment of passing. In the blind, Lily pressed her hand against the rough wood, tears streaming down her face. "Goodbye," she whispered, "and thank you." What happened next would be debated in scientific circles for decades to come. One by one, Luna's family approached her still form, each touching her gently with paw or muzzle in what appeared to be a farewell ritual. Then, in perfect unison, all 7 bears raised their heads toward the blind where Lily sat. For a full minute, they held this position, a final acknowledgement that researchers would struggle to explain through any known understanding of bear behavior. Then, as if responding to some silent signal, the bears turned and moved back into the forest, disappearing among the trees like shadows returning to darkness. Only the bear with the scarred muzzle remained, standing guard over Luna's body for a moment longer before following the others. When Lily finally emerged from the blind, her face tear-streaked but peaceful, she found her family waiting exactly where she had left them, their own eyes wet with tears. "She's gone," Lily said simply. Savannah enfolded her daughter in a tight embrace. "I know, sweetheart. We saw." "Did you see what the bears did?" Ethan asked quietly. "The way they acknowledged you before leaving?" Lily nodded against her mother's shoulder. They were saying goodbye, not just to Luna, but to whatever connection was formed that day at the cave. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "It's completed now. The circle is closed." As the group made their way back up to the observation point, the forest seemed changed somehow. Not diminished by Luna's passing, but transformed, as if her spirit had diffused into the very air around them. Researchers were already discussing plans for respectfully handling Luna's remains, with agreement that she would be left in her chosen place, protected but undisturbed. "What happens now?" Min asked as they reached the ridge. Lily looked out over the vast expanse of forest that had been her home and the setting for her extraordinary life story. For the first time, she felt truly free of the weight of expectation that had accompanied being the Bear Girl. "Now I go to college," she said with gentle certainty. "I study biology like I planned. And I carry Luna's lesson forward, that the boundaries we create between species, between wilderness and civilization, between instinct and choice, they're more permeable than we ever imagined." Dr. Hayes approached, his earlier opposition softened by what he had witnessed. "Lily, I owe you an apology. What happened down there defies scientific explanation, but it was beautiful. Luna's family included you in their farewell ritual. I've never seen anything like it." Lily accepted his words with a nod. "Maybe some things aren't meant to be fully explained, Doctor Hayes. Maybe they're just meant to be witnessed."